Hello and welcome in. It's time for another Project Epoch class overview. Today we're getting in touch with nature. No, not touching grass. We're talking Druid. Thank you to Kazad, Soru, and Bruce for all the Druidic knowledge that helped me make this video today. You know the drill, grab a seat in the front row, maybe a snack, and let's get started. Let's cover some general class changes. Druids can now use polearm weapons. I'm curious to see what new interesting items could be introduced that we haven't a clue about. They can also use consumables while shapeshifted. You will also now have access to an out-of-combat resurrection. And of course, most of their buffs are now raid-wide. That includes Mark of the Wild, Moonkin Aura, and the Leader of the Pack. Alright, let's focus on Feral. Starting off with some amazing news, Feral attack power now appears on all equipable weapons, which will help provide you consistent scaling throughout your leveling journey. Tiger's Fury has changed to offer some ramping benefits for keeping bleeds ticking on a target. This change is meant as an attempt to bring Ferals who don't want to power shift closer in power. When it comes to the Feral talent tree, it's relatively unchanged. The most significant changes impacting Feral Druids are actually external to its own tree and are primarily within itemization. Wolf's Head Helm now no longer provides energy and rage benefits, while Manual Crowd Pummeler is now considered a unique item, dissuading repetitive farming. The weakening of items like Wolf's Head Helm and Manual Crowd Pummeler is a major development in removing the gear locks Feral suffered through Classic and TBC, offering the opportunity to find more unique headpieces in your journey and avoiding extra trips to Gnomeregan. Of course, the Furor talent has been updated to include this item's effect. Feral Druids can also now trigger on-hit effects. No, not Wind Fury, but this introduces so many possibilities to explore powerful item synergies. As mentioned earlier, you now can use consumables in your forms. Also, Barkskin will no longer trigger the global cooldown, meaning you could find some interesting uses with it as you shift around. In PvP, TBC changes come with new tools like Maim and Cyclone. The heal scaling from Nurturing Instinct increases heals by agility and heals received as cat. This talent boosts your survivability immensely. Primal Tenacity is a strong passive CC resistance that will also assist your ability to keep on top of your targets. Overall, Feral remains a flexible spec for any PvP scenario, but now with more itemization freedom. Tanking in Feral was already great in TBC with amazing scaling, and it's probably only better here. One thing they lack is a large defensive CD or the armor to fortify their effective HP, and you could get unlucky with a heavy critical strike. Regardless, that's quite unlikely, so expect to see bear tanks as a prime tank slot pick. Whether that's main or off tank is up to your raid setup. Looking at the dungeon set, the 4-piece mangle reduction here seems low because it doesn't change anything in your output per energy tick, but maybe there's other items that improve this, like maybe an idol? The 6-piece provides an extra 2 seconds on rip, which is important for smoothing out your rotation, and it adds an extra tick of damage. Of course, the 3% extra crit on shred is good too. The 8-piece is insane. 20 extra energy opens up many new possibilities for Feral Druids. For specifically bear tanks, there isn't too much to deem noteworthy here. The extra threat on swipe is great, of course. Although the 2-piece armor bonus from shifting out could be useful in PvP and some clutch scenarios. Okay, on to Balanced Druid. We'll start with changes to the talent Celestial Focus. The spell interruption bonus now includes Starfire. This could be useful in leveling, but also in later tiers if Starfire is empowered further and more usable in rotations. More on that point later. Lunar Guidance now provides a great number increase just to help Boomkin's throughput by giving 9% more int and at least 30% more spell power at max rank. Balance of Power now affects your non-spell attacks as well. This isn't really going to move the needle on anything for Boomy specifically, and maybe there are some moments during leveling this could be useful. The aura from Moonkin form is now raid wide, but the aura itself is nerfed. Note, the Moonkin will still receive the original 5% benefit. Also, in this form, when taking direct damage, you will have a chance to proc an enrage effect named Wildkin Frenzy. I don't have a tooltip to show, but here's a description of the effect. It increases your spell damage done by 5%, your attack power by 10%, and makes you immune to spell pushback for 8 seconds. I'm curious to see how often this will proc. Overall, the balanced Druid changes are slight, but it should lead to an incremental scaling benefit over the lifetime of the server. It should be known, devs have directly called out balance as a spec they'll follow up on right after launch.
Shining Hope of Boomkin is the dev that's responsible for class balance Erdogan. He has said multiple times publicly that he wants to go back and do some stuff with Boomy. He understands that it's in a pretty low tier spot. Boomy is slated to get some big love, like right after launch, as soon as Erdogan has a moment to breathe. So by the time raids come out, Boomy should be in a better spot or a little bit after raids come out.
Thanks, Bruce. Of course, take the timing of the changes with a grain of salt, because who knows what could happen on the server between then and now. In PvP, Boom can sacrifice a lot of typical Druid mobility to become a slow caster. Changes like triggering the Moonkin focused casting may help in moments of pressure, but still, don't expect to be a great choice for most small-scale PvP scenarios. However, in large-scale PvP, Boomy will be a great support caster with an ability to dish out decent damage. Let's explore the dungeon set bonuses. The 4-piece Innervate bonus is actually pretty nice. Boomkins are loved for their support, and to receive some of that effect for yourself is a nice benefit. The 6-piece Hurricane CD reduction seems useful if you were in high AoE scenarios, allowing you to just chain casts of Hurricane, although I'm not sure if that damage is needed compared to other AoE specs. The 8-piece adds a little bit of dynamic gameplay to the class, although 20 stacks will probably take a bit to stack up. Alright, let's finish up with Restoration Druid. Some TBC baseline things to cover first. Tree of Life gives a strong party healing amp and a mana conservation bonus. This will lock in at least one Resto Druid slot for the tank group. Note, there is a new Epoch change here with you being able to cast non-healing restoration spells, meaning remove curse and buffing your group should not remove your form. Druids will now have access to Life Bloom. This spell combines a powerful hot with a delayed heal. Speaking of which, on Epoch, hots from separate druids can stack and will not replace each other. There is also a new talent ability for restos here. Overgrowth applies rejuvenation on a target and their whole party after a cast. Tranquility is now raid-wide on Epoch, and Smart heals 5 people every tick. This is a massive group healing CD with much higher base healing stats than TBC. This doesn't only apply to Resto, but Omen of Clarity was changed to just be a passive instead of the casted buff it was on TBC. A nice quality of life change. There are not a lot of particularly targeted PvP changes to chat about here, although the new Tranquility could lead to some really cool battle shifting moments. Resto will definitely still be a flexible and relatively safe PvP healer for many different scenarios. Keep in mind, changes to the other talent trees will be something to explore when crafting your Resto PvP build. Looking at the dungeon tier set bonuses, the 4-piece will give you value if you shift in and out of tree a lot, but that's not usually the case. The 6-piece CDR is actually pretty good for nature's swiftness, and the 8-piece provides an extra trank tick. That's a great improvement to an already tremendous healing cooldown. That's it for Resto. Let's talk about leveling. Druids still level very smooth and can fill many roles during the process. The Furor changes make Catform a bit more enjoyable earlier, and of course Feral is king for leveling speed regardless. However, leveling as a Boomkin once you're on level 35 is certainly going to be a bit easier than the TBC version. On Epoch, the changes provide you a bit better scaling, and you'll have access to all new gear that will suit a leather-wearing caster. If you want to optimize through professions, you could consider tailoring or maybe even enchanting for spell power benefits. Although, stay curious, because there are a lot of new recipes across every profession. And at level 60, you can swap to a different racial ability set every 2 weeks, so consider all the different choices to optimize for PvE or PvP. I'm going to leave that up to your imagination. Another thank you to Kazad, Soru, and Bruce. And of course, a big thank you to you all in the audience for joining me again. Leave me a comment with your thoughts on the Druid changes and subscribe to catch the next class overview ASAP. If you're looking for second monitor content, tune into my live stream July 26th and going forward because I'll be streaming lots of Project Epoch. This is Muzzy and I'll see you all next time.